Watching us here on a fresh new edition of Markets Forward. This is your go-to show where we aim to get you all the key data points to get up for the next trading day. I'm Mangla Malu, with me, Vinny Motiwala. What a day it was, Vinny. It was perfect expiry day. We started with a gap up that got sold into swiftly. We started with a lot of overnight cues that came in from the US, domestic as well. Then for a large part, we were absolutely flat with the market going nowhere. And then suddenly, the last 30 minutes, it was a big bazooka that took place.
200 points recovery from the day's lowest point is a good day. I think we're in.
Great day, great series.
I think a day to celebrate with tacos, right? Then.
Tacos, started with taco. But, be that as it may, it was the May series that got you almost 600 points on the Nifty. And that's the third straight series of gains that we've seen for the market itself. And, just the 600 point doesn't do justice to what the May series saw. At the start of the series, we had the border skirmish on India and Pakistan. There was a lot of volatility and the market at one point went below the 24,000 mark. After there was some relief and the market went above that 25,000 mark as well. So it was a near 1100 point range that we saw in the market, of which we managed to hold on to 600 points in terms of gains. So the street would like that. Third straight series of gains, the street would like that.
Absolutely, street would like that. And the mid and small cap, the broader end of the market, that's our good performance coming in today's trading session as well. The outperformance, actually, what we could say. So that is something interesting to watch out for. 5/10 or 6/10% of gain coming in from the mid cap as well as the small cap. So interesting to watch out for. But yes, that's the market setup that we are watching out for right now. But on the show, we have an exciting lineup for you all in the next 20 minutes as well, where we will take you all through what is happening in terms of the top movers and shakers of the day, and then in terms of the key development in terms of important stocks to watch out for, and last but not the least, the events that we should be tracking ahead of tomorrow's trading session. So now on that note, we'll get started with the top stock and segment for the day as well. For that, we have Holmas Patakia joining in with us from the big wall with the top stocks and movers for the day. Holmas, over to you.
Well, the business end of the day is actually going to begin now with a lot of these earnings that are yet to be reported. We'll come out with them, and of course the ones that were reported saw a very significant reaction during the course of the day. MMTC ending 20% higher on an upper circuit, continuing to build on to the gains that it has been seeing over the last few trading sessions. Samvardhana Motherson, after the results announcement, fell initially but then had a spike from the lows of the day to end 2.5% higher. Cummins India, after a strong commentary from in the earnings call. EIL also at one point was 5% after a very strong earnings performance, and Bharat Rasayan, the negative earnings reaction today, 9% lower after the results that were reported after market hours yesterday. Among the newsmakers today, Vari Energies, after the order win that it had during the course of the day, ending 8% higher. Castrol, of course, the news reports over a potential stake sale. Olectra Green Tech continues to grind lower. Vedanta, of course, after the NCLAT relief and another earnings reaction in the form of Deepak Nitrite. PSU stocks continued to do well in today's session as well. KIOCL was one of them. Of course, mind you, barely any float in this stock, for almost 5% higher. Midani ending 5% higher as well. And Garden Reach continuing to grow from strength to strength, another 7% in today's trading session. And Oil India and NMDC also having a good day at the office. Oil India, of course, because of the rise in the crude oil prices. Stocks that ended at a 52-week high today. Welspun Corp, after a very strong earnings performance, ending 10% higher today. And GE Vernova continuing to build on to the gains. Deepak Fertilizers too, ending at a 52-week high. And lastly, some stocks that ended on the losing end today. Olectra Green Tech continuing to grind lower, also from profit booking in Schneider Electric and GSK Pharma in today's session as well. Back to you guys.
Bunch of stocks on the way up and down. Those were the top stock movers. But let's welcome our guests on the show today. We have Anand, Tandon and Ruchit Jain joining in for the views on the market. Anand, so much volatility across the world, global uncertainty. Set the next month up for us. Monsoon, that's been one glimmer of hope. It's arrived earlier than usual, and the street is believing that maybe this would bring some good rural recovery and gains in the second half of this year. How do you view the next few months in the market?
Well, I think the fact that monsoons are up and are supposed to be reasonably well spread out is good news, but it's not something that is a market moving event. Broadly, it doesn't make too much of a difference unless it is highly negative, which is when the demand kind of falls. So yes, it is one more positive in a long list of positives. We have a situation today in the market where we are set up for reasonable growth compared to the rest of the world. And falling oil prices helps the current account deficit. The inflation is coming down. by and large, if the ruins are good, you will not have any reason for food inflation to go up, which had been a problem last year, and so on. But with all that, the issue is that we are also in a situation where the IIP is falling, and the earnings are again under some amount of stress. So we have already seen a growth of hardly a single-digit growth in earnings in the current year, and to my mind, you're going to see the same thing for the next year as well. So in a market which is valued at 21 times 1 year or 22 times 1 year forward earnings, for it to grow at a single-digit kind of earnings growth, it doesn't leave too much upside on the table. So unless you find something dramatically different over the course of the year, then there is a possibility of making higher gains. Otherwise, you should kind of assume that you will get debt-like returns for the year forward, and therefore even the next month you may see some volatility, but not much else. The global market is a lot more interesting because of the fact that we are seeing a lot of volatility around the US and the US tariffs, etc. Whatever way it settles, irrespective of the Supreme Court judgment or any of the judges coming through, I think you will find the tariff rates in the US will be higher. And that will mean that there will be a slight global slowdown as well. So there again, the outlook is somewhat not so positive. India may be in a sweet spot again, assuming that we do enough to be able to open up our market for domestic growth and for foreigners to come in and set up business, not only for international markets, but also for India. But that will require a significant change in mindset. Coming to the sectors, I think, we have already, most of the current sectors are pretty much fully priced. We are really looking at a hope trade in terms of IT and cement going forward, that things may actually do better. Next month, cement not likely to do well. Trains, not a good season. You will see price increase, but volumes will flatten. IT may begin to do a little better in terms of volumes.
Okay, that's a view coming in on the market. But let's move on and get more stock specific now. Welspun Corp, that rallied as much as 10% after a solid set of numbers in Q4 FY25. Nigel is here to tell us what got the street excited about the numbers. Nigel.
Well, that's right. Welspun Corp came out with a solid set of numbers, and the management commentary as well was fairly encouraging. Let's give you a few points now. On the EBITDA front, in the past quarter, they delivered an EBITDA of close to 460 crores. Now, that's the highest we've seen the last 5 quarters, and it's close to a record high EBITDA per quarter number. So that was positive. Not just that, the outlook as well seems very, very positive because they have guided for an EBITDA number as per their calculations to come in at around 2,200 crores. Remember, their EBITDA includes the other income. But even if you take into account the 2,200 crores and compare with what they've delivered, it would mean an 18% growth in terms of an absolute EBITDA number. And they have a good amount of visibility because the orders that they're sitting on is 19,500 crores odd. So clearly for the next few quarters, they're fully booked out and they have good amount of visibility. The balance sheet as well is looking very, very good because from being a net debt company, now they're sitting on net cash of close to under 1,000 crores. That equates to nearly around 4 to 5% of the total market cap. And since they're so confident on business, remember they have a unit in the United States. They're setting up another LSAW plant unit because domestic demand is very, very strong. And they are saying that in fact these capacities are likely to bode well for them in the time to come. So that's why they're going ahead and setting up an LSAW facility. Earlier, they used to, ship the LSAW pipes from the India facility to the US facility, but now they're setting up shop in the United States itself. So all in all, a big beat coming in from Welspun Corp. Good numbers, good commentary, and good visibility as well.
All right, Nigel, thanks a lot for that. So that's one gainer in today's trading session, Welspun Corp on the back of good numbers. The other gainer today is, we have Cummins, which was almost double digits in terms of gains at 1% and eventually ended about 7 to 8% higher in today's trading session. That's on the back of fourth quarter numbers, but also management commentary, which suggested a double-digit revenue growth aspiration in FY26. Mamakshi Dhuria joins in with the key takeaways. Mamakshi.
Well, Mangalam, a good set coming in from Cummins. When you look at the revenue, saw an uptick of almost 6%. This is lower than what the street was expecting, but the operational performance was much better. Remember, we were working with a margin contraction of somewhere over 400 basis points, but the margin contraction this time around came in just at 235 basis points. This is better than what the street was anticipating. The net profit number as well at 521 crores were above the street expectations. So overall, when we look at the numbers, it's an operations-led beat for Cummins. Now, in the con call, like you said, the company said that they will be posting double-digit revenue growth in FY26. They're likely to sustain or slightly improve the margins, that is the gross margins from here on. They, however, are cautiously optimistic as far as the demand outlook is concerned. What they've highlighted is that the pricing for the new CBCP for plus products is is likely to settle in the next 1 or 2 quarters. Competitive intensity has picked up, but they're still able to hold on to their prices. They have also highlighted that they see very good demand coming in from data centers as well, and as far as their capex plan is concerned, that will be in the similar range that we saw in FY25. This is largely expected to be sustenance capex. So overall, good set of numbers. The commentary from the management looks positive. Resultantly, the stock was higher in trade today.
Okay, thank you so much for that, Vamakshi. Ruchit, just coming to you, firstly in terms of Welspun Corp, how are the charts looking like for this one as well as in Cummins India? What are you watching out for? Are these the better plays that you are looking out in the capex story?
Yeah, very good afternoon, Rini. Well, I think the broader trend for both the stocks is positive, but Welspun Corp is more of a continuation of the uptrend where recently we have seen that the correction towards the 200 DMA got bought into. And the price up moves in last couple of sessions today and yesterday has been supported by very high volumes. So there's a rounding bottom kind of pattern technically, which gives a potential targets around 1030, 1050 in the near term. So I think we should see a continuation of the trend in the Welspun Corp in the near term towards 1030 kind of levels. But yes, there has been quite positive change, positive change in today's trading session as far as Cummins India goes, because the stock was in a consolidation phase. The 200 DMA was last breached in December, and post December, for the first time, you have seen such volume-based buying happening in the stock. So the risk-reward ratio for fresh longs is still favorable over here, and we should see a level up move towards 3500, 3550 kind of range in the near term. So while Welspun could be a good stock to hold on if existing positions are there, I think Cummins is a structure where reversals are placed. So the risk-reward ratio is good for going fresh longs over here.
All right, so that's about individual stocks. Let's also get in another stock that was a beginner, and we'll probably get both Ruchit and Anand's views on that. That's Deepak Nitrite, gained about 5%. Beat estimates in the fourth quarter. Recovery came in the fourth quarter despite geopolitical tensions and elevated input prices. Upasana joins in with the details of the numbers and what the management said. Upasana.
Well, certainly it's a strong beat versus the estimates. The growth was mainly driven by company's key segment, that is phenolics, which saw a volume recovery. The revenue was in this segment was also up about 5%, and EBITDA margin saw an uptick of 150 basis points at 15.6%. Now coming to the overall consolidated numbers for Q4, revenue saw growth of about 2%, EBITDA saw growth of about 5%, and EBITDA margin saw an uptick of 30 basis points at 14.5%, while Street was working with a 9.7% EBITDA margin. So certainly a beat on that. But coming to the profits, profit remain impacted due to higher input prices and also performance of the agrochemical segment. So the profits were down about 20%. Now coming to the con call highlights, the management commentary remains quite upbeat. Management says that the domestic demand has showed early signs of recovery, and company is expanding its product portfolio, and it is expecting a long-term contract in any time soon. It is confident that the profits which were impacted this year will likely to normalize in FY26, and it has also commented on the demand for dyes and pigments. It is picking up after Q3. Coming to the agrochemical sector, the demand in this sector continues to remain subdued, and company expects this trend also to continue for some few more quarters. On the guidance, company continues to remain confident about optimistic growth in FY26, but has not given a definite number here. But the company has also said that the overall outlook remains strong and positive, with several projects set to commission in Q1 and Q2 FY26. So overall strong set of numbers and upbeat management commentary which led to such a surge in the stock.
Okay, thank you so much for that, Upasana. But IndusInd Bank, that was also in focus today. Now, what happened was market regulator SEBI has barred former IndusInd Bank CEO Sumant Katpalia, former Deputy CEO Arun Khurana, Executive Committee member Anil Rao, and 2 others from securities market for insider trading. With Rao's name on the list, the bank's current management structure raises concerns around governance. Amit Tandon of Institutional Investor Advisor Services believes IndusInd Bank may see some internal churn and brace up for some turbulence. Listen in.
If you read what SEBI said that, look, we've appointed KPMG on the basis of a board note. So again, you have to ask whether the board were shielding the management or whether they were taken by surprise. I think that is really not clear at this stage, and we'll need to hear a little bit more. So if there is action against the board, you can expect that there is going to be some more tumultuous times going ahead. It's clear that the board has not lived up to what RBI's expectations were and what the investors' expectations were. So I think we are going to be in for some amount of volatility or internal churn as far as the bank is concerned. Likely to be a shakeout as far as the board is concerned. There is, of course, the existing board structure, existing management structure or the leadership structure will change. So the question is, how quickly will they be able to bring in a new CEO? And that in itself will mean there's going to be a round of internal cleaning up. Every bank is going to become much more internal focused rather than looking at opportunities out in the market. So I think there's going to be some degree of slowdown as far as this bank operations are concerned.
Right. So much happening, but despite that, IndusInd Bank actually ended slightly higher in today's trading session. It's seen a big cash already. And does it tempt you? I mean, the big decline that happened in every subsequent news that happens. Do you get tempted to buy after that big cut, or is it something that you just stay away from?
One is waiting for the entire book to be cleared up, and once that is done, or at least all the information is out, then you can be looking at it as a bank again. The problem with IndusInd Bank is that two parts of their portfolio are always going to be somewhat suspect. One is the micro lending business, which I don't particularly fancy, and the other is that they have fairly strong book on the autos, which is not particularly doing very well in terms of the auto demand itself. So with both those sectors, and they form a large part of their book, so they are not best positioned in terms of the growth going forward. These are problems that the ones that you're mentioning are problems that they have created for themselves. So it's not even the problem that the market has done, which they are trying to face. It's self-inflicted wounds. Once that is out of the way, then yes, it looks relatively cheap, assuming that there is no major impact on the book. But we have to see how the book actually turns out to be once all the news is in.
Okay, Ruchit, your view that is coming in for IndusInd Bank as well as Deepak Nitrite, right? We've seen good set of numbers coming in from the company. So what are you keeping an eye out on the technicals here?
IndusInd Bank technical trend is still on the negative side. No, this has been one of the underperforming stocks, amongst all the private sector banks because of these news flows. And still there is no signs of reversal or high top, high bottom structure getting on. I think before any kind of reversal also, we would see a decent time-wise corrective phase as well in the stock. So I think in this time, other private sector banks could do better. So definitely avoid IndusInd Bank. Deepak Nitrite, I mean, there could be some pullback move because the stock is beaten down. We have been witnessing some positive momentum post the numbers today. But frankly, if we see the broader trend, then upside should be limited towards 2240, 2250 kind of range where major resistances has come. But within the entire chemical basket, if we see, then I think a couple of other names such as SRF or PI Industries could do relatively better in case there is an uptrend in most of the chemical names. So I think other stocks such as SRF or PI Industries should be more preferable over Deepak Nitrite, but outperformance could continue.
All right, we take that point. Let's get in another one as well, which is Max Financial Services, slipped in trade today. And this is not on the back of numbers. This is on the back of a management change. Prashant Tripathi, who's the managing director and CEO of Axis Life, he announces early retirement effective September end. Yash joins in with the details on that one.
Well, Mangala, we spoke about numbers. Max Financial numbers also came out last week. The numbers are very strong. So in a way, it is ending an ending for Prashant Tripathi on a strong note. But, the stock slipped today in trade, and that was largely because of that unexpected and surprising decision which came from the managing director and CEO of Axis Max Life, Prashant Tripathi, taking an early exit as MD and CEO from the company. How early is this exit? it's really early because he was supposed to retire in 2028 as against which he has announced his retirement, which will be effective September 2025. So good 3 years remaining in his professional career as MD and CEO. He has decided to retire from Axis Max Life Insurance. That certainly came as a surprise to Street. But of course, as far as his term at Axis Max Life is concerned, the company certainly has outperformed the life insurance industry in terms of the new business premium that it has collected, in terms of APE as well as retail APE. The stock has given very strong returns to its investors, and importantly, it was under him that the deal with Axis Bank got consummated. So another important milestone which the company achieved under the leadership of Prashant Tripathi, but nevertheless announcing his retirement about 3 years from his scheduled time.
Okay, Yash, thank you so much for that. So keeping an eye on Max Life as well. But, thank you so much to both our guests, Ruchit as well as Anand, for joining in with us on the show as well and helping us break down in terms of the technicals as well as the fundamentals on the stock. But before we head into break, we will leave you with market voices on the impact of US tariff as well as what's next after a US court scraps tariff imposed by US President Donald Trump under the International Emergency Economic Power Act. Listen in.
It's a very messy situation for sure. Why would any country now want to proceed with negotiating with the administration when the court just questioned whether the tariffs have any constitutional right to exist in the first place? But I think everybody knows that there's no way that you can negotiate a trade treaty in 90 days. I think we're still going to get some letters of agreement between us and our major trading partners on continuing to negotiate fair trade deals. So I think there'll be a lot of face saving going on, and I think the president is basically going to declare victory and try to put this whole thing behind him by the middle to the end of the summer.
Welcome back. You're watching us here on Markets Forward. What a day it was for the bulls. The last hour rally is what we saw, but let's look at some of the key corporate voices we had over the course of the day. First up, Aurobindo Pharma's management spoke to CNBC TV18, said that they expect growth across all its businesses in FY26, while the US business, which currently holds about 11% market share in prescription, is operating at a high base. It's the US business which is projected to grow in the mid to high single-digit mark, and the management also noted that key drivers like China growth markets or Indonesia and South Africa continue to perform well. They do not expect global uncertainties to impact the company's generics business.
Next up is EID Parry. The management says FY25 was a taxing year for the sugar business. Meanwhile, they had to be cautious about FY26 due to lower cane availability in Tamil Nadu as well as Andhra Pradesh. However, the management added that the distillery segment has witnessed good growth in FY25, added it is expecting a slight uptick in margins in FY26, whereas EBITDA margins are expected to remain at 8% for the upcoming quarters. And before we wrap up this edition of Markets Forward on CNBC TV18, we'll bring you the key events to watch out for in tomorrow's trading session. And for that, we have Upasana joining you with us. Upasana.
First up, let me start with the global economic cues. US will be reporting its trade balance data. Japan will be reporting its industrial production data. And back home, India, we will get to know our provisional Q4 GDP data tomorrow. Now, let us look at the key stocks in focus on the back of corporate action. Results like Apollo Hospital, Vodafone Idea, Nykaa, AstraZeneca, Genus Power, KNR Constructions, Greenlam Industries, all these companies will be reporting their Q4 results tomorrow. Now, stocks like Angel One, Bajaj Finance, Infosys, Jupiter Wagons, Uno Minda, GSK Pharma, all these stocks will be in focus as they go ex-dividend tomorrow. Now, in terms of board meetings, stocks like Vodafone Idea and Equitas Small Finance Bank will be in focus on the back of fundraising plans, and also India Glycol will also be in focus as board will consider stock split plan tomorrow. So all in all, it looks like quite an eventful day tomorrow.
Asna, thanks a lot for that. So a bunch of events that are in focus for tomorrow. With that, we'll wrap up on this edition of Markets Forward. You stay tuned to CNBC TV, 18 more news and updates on the other side.